Hello, here is IK. Welcome to on title change. On title change. What we have here, we declare function. We always said declare object, declare variable, but never said declared function. But in reality, here we declare a function and define that function. Under this onTitleChanged, under this name, we have a function, this arrow function. This arrow function in right side is without name. Name of that function is onTitleChanged. Okay, we can, instead of this arrow, and of course we don't need constant, if we write function, and we don't need the arrow. Now, parameter of function. Parameter of function must be near name of function. It is, I don't know in the future I control it, but that tester, what I see by the way, but now I control it with artificial intelligence. Absolutely, parameter must be touch this parameter E must parenthesis must touch onTitleChanged name, but if there is a space bar, will not be error, but can be confusion in coding. Okay, function onTitleChanged parameter, and curly brackets is here. Curly brackets is body. It is body of function. It is correct grammar of JavaScript, correct syntax of function. Function, name of function onTitleChanged, parameter E, it is event, and in body of function, we have function set title and parameter of set title e.target.value. It is event is we will see it is onChange event. Target is HTML element, input box or content or text area. Here is input box, and value is our typing. What we type, it is a value, new value of title, and this function, when would be called, will change when we call function onTitleChanged. That function, we call that function, function would be executed, and the result of that function would be new value of title in input box. That value is what we typed. It is new value in input box. Who call that title change? Call it is event handler, that function. That function handle event. What event? onChange. Let's go to see, and event onChange call function onTitleChanged. That event onChange is attribute of input box, attribute of text area also. Return input box. Input box, there is attribute, 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 and attribute on change. On change, attribute here, on change is event of JavaScript from first moment of JavaScript in vanilla and in after that on change is event. And when that event happened, would be called, that event called onTitleChanged. But look at, we don't need now write like this. But if we write it like this, because it is calling function, onTitleChanged calling function is that it would be error. It would be error. And I must delete it. And there is no error. This recoding constant onTitleChanged in function onTitleChanged, nothing happened in coding. All is right, all is as before. Now it is syntax for function, and before was syntax for declaring object, declaring variable, and assign that variable, we assign arrow function. Variable assign. And now we look at, we can compare function onTitle and constant declaration of variable on content change. What we also can code like function, but you look at, it is interesting compare 100% by grammar of functions syntax. Here is 100% of declaration of variable, and assign or instantiate that variable. It is declaration and instantiate. What we instance arrow function. Arrow function is instantiation of this variable, this object, or to set declaration of object on content change equal arrow function. Arrow, we to object on content change, we assign arrow function. Arrow function is without name, and on content change is a name. In memory, on content change is arrow function. It is name of arrow function. And here we are again with functional programming, where object equal function, function equal object. Okay. But now when we explain this, I have a question. What would be like usefully? What would be like always coding? Constant on content change or function on title change? What is better for you? You can code like you want, but most people prefer constant on content change. Why? Because we call function with the parentheses. And it is here is a declaration of object and definition of function. We define function here. But here we define function here. It is parameter E for event, and body is set content function set content and parameter target value. And when we call function, we always in programming until before a functional, we call with parentheses. It is for us call, but we cannot call like this here. We must call here. And when we have function, we call here like object. Little despair how we usually work. And but here we must write onTitleChanged without parentheses. Why? Because of initial rendering. If we have like this, initial rendering would be called onTitleChanged, but we want that only event call it, not initial change, and it must be like this. Now, initial rendering will not call onTitleChanged because it is object here, variable, not calling function. And initial rendering would would create component for interaction. What means that initial rendering would memorize in memory that onChange event equal onTitleChanged, and when onChange happen, it would be calling for onTitleChanged. Would be happen onTitleChanged. When onChange happen, equal means would happen onTitleChanged, and it is function activation of arrow function. Again, we always get back to initial rendering. Initial rendering prepares. It is like in Schach. In Schach, we at first we create position. We locate every figure in its place. Black and white. It is initial rendering. Initial rendering. But we cannot, in initial rendering, make some advancement. No, we must first locate figure. And in a next rendering, we interact with that figure because that figure exists in that place, initial location. And also here, initial rendering from top to down must be it means compiling. It is process of compiling, and compiling means from our script. all component, all JavaScript and HTML and CSS, what we have here, it is a script. JavaScript is script language. Name said JavaScript. And every script language compile when we need it, when we need it, when we use it. And the initial rendering is practically compiling of our JavaScript code, and here is a compiling component. And what means compiling? It means push every statement, process, and push in memory. But in memory cannot go script. In memory go 1 and 0. In memory go machine language, and it is compiling. It is compiling. Okay. And initial rendering is compiling. It means create copy in memory, copy of our script, concretely this component, but with 1 and 0 metaphor again. In any case, onChange must be there, and the value of that must be onTitleChanged. And when happen onChange would be happen onTitleChanged. Would be happen onTitleChanged, because it is not calling function explicit syntax like we know it with parentheses. It is onTitleChange variable, function variable, object variable, and it is assign to onChange, event onChange, assign to event onChange. Assign is object function onTitleChange, and it is equal, and we can, when happen onChange, when would happen onChange, then would be happen onTitleChange, and onTitleChange is function what would be executed. I must see something here. Okay, it can be, but we don't need it. And arrow here. And constant here. Always like before. Say post always. Okay, here is NN. onTitleChanged. onTitleChanged. Here in this video, we conclude all declaration, and we can see it is component add post form. And the declaration, when we look at the declaration, start with constant, but different. Here is a different type of syntax, type of declaration. Here is a destructured value, destructured assignment. Assignment means variable, declaration of variable, and assignment. Assignment is right side of equation. For example, we declare object onTitleChanged and right side and assign to it this arrow function. Here we declare array, and in array title and set title, it is two variables. Set title is function, but syntax is here like variable. And the right side is use state. Assignment is use state. And the structure means break down in two variable. Break down in two variable. Again, here we don't use in array can be different members, can be object, can be function, mix type of members, mix types of element. And of course, in one array here, we have title. It is primitive type of object. It is string. Set title can be function. And it is possible, but it is okay. But if we use, again, same story, if we use like this, we see that it's function. We see that, that it is function from airplane. But it is impossible here, this syntax. Why? Because it would be called in initial rendering. But it not exist. Initial rendering would call it, but set title don't exist. First, set title must exist. Now, set title, rendering, initial rendering, compile it in memory, and after that, we have set title. After that, we have set title. Add post form, there is only initial rendering, and it means that what I spoke, all that must be compiled in 101 in machine language, and after that usable. After that, we see that on the screen, and we can interact with that. And we see on the screen input. Here is the input box. Here is a text area box. Text area box. Here is a button Save Post. But we don't see onChange. We don't see attribute of HTML element. Attribute. We don't see attribute. And attribute is can be in attribute of element. There is onChange event, JavaScript onChange event. It is interesting that how JavaScript is connected with HTML. onChange is JavaScript event, but input box is HTML element. And we very simple write onChange in like attribute of input, like as it write on change like attribute of input, and it go to compile, it go in machine language, it go in memory, and waiting, after that waiting for our interaction. Uh, After that, we see it. We look at on the screen, and we can go interact. Push save button, and it is. I said many times. I always like repeat. onChange event is every type is onChange. After every type, we have a new value, and here, but when we get out of the input, it is final, final, final value. For E is final value when we get out. Okay, we can go back and make one E more. But when we get out, it is we rest a final value, and that and it is final value. Okay, must be one times we must go finished typing. Here is also, and when we get out, it is two final events, and now they onChange. onChange onChange means every type. Okay, every type means onChange. And when we get out, value variable title is input box is value attribute of input box value is memorize value in input. Here is value in text area. It is value of content. And when we send and when we push save post, that moment save post, it is again event on click event, and we must have handler. Again on click, we happen on click happen, handler happen, calling happen. It is in return button. Here is a button. On click happen, and this variable happen. On click event, again, JavaScript on click event. On click is attribute of button HTML element. On click, calling. On click, we assign that attribute is assigned. There is a value of attribute on click. Value is on save click, and when happen on click would be activate on save post click function. Again, here we have not. And because of that, we say why we cannot hit. And every function in React, we like to declare like a constant object variable, object function, object variable. Because that we have not that despair in our knowledge about function, calling function, because it exists, a function, calling function. JavaScript can program functional programming, can be no functional programming. Can be declarative, can be no declarative, imperative, etc. And because when we coding in functional or in no functional, we like to have differences between calling function and differences between writing variable. And now it is okay. Here is a variable on save post clicked, and we create it, we declare it here on save post click, we declare it like constant. But you see that we can have syntax for function and syntax declaration of object. And now we know why it is like that, because of initial rendering. Initial rendering must locate figure before we can use that figure, that element. And function with parentheses, it is call function. It would be executed immediately in initial, but that function don't exist. At first, must exist. After that, we can call it. Because something yes. In post slice, for example, does it in post slice? Okay. Here it is, one example of this. One example of dispatch fetch post. Dispatch, it is call function. Dispatch, we call dispatch function. And in initial rendering, we would call dispatch if there is a no this part. But it is interesting. We call dispatch, but we don't call fetch post. But when we call dispatch call fetch post. We activate, we call dispatch call fetch post. But because it is the directly call of function. It is a syntax for call function. Dispatch parentheses, inside of parentheses, parameter is again function fetch post. But it is important this first, dispatch would be called, and after that, of course, go fetch post, etc. Why it is not possible? Because of this part. Logic. It is logically logical end element, and the door. There is a two sides, two parts, 1 and 2, left and right, only 2, and must be both, must be 1. This right is always 1. It is call function. And when process of initial rendering would be call it. But we don't like that in initial. We don't like that it would be called in initial. We want that it would be called after component finished initial. That component was mounted event, lifespan event, component was mounted, call use effect, and then when would be called use effect, would be called arrow function, would be activate arrow function, and in body of arrow function we have left logical status must be equal idle, must be equal idle, and initial status, here it is, initial start, here it is, status, initial status, we must see in post slice. Initial status is idle. Status is idle. Okay. Let's get back to post list, and here it. Okay. This is one. Status is idle, and dispatch fetch post is always one, and it can be called. It can be called by. Why? It is initial rendering of this component, of any component of this component post list, is after initial state. Initial state exists before, because created in a store by a reducer. Redux, in Redux we have created, it is post slice, we created initial state in index.js, and the initial rendering of post slice find initial state. Initial state, in initial state, status is idle. And this state is called function dispatch, and left side is one, right side is one, it is always ready, dispatch fetch post, and it can be started. It can be started in initial rendering of post, in initial rendering of post list. We are now in post list. Why not? Because of arrow function. This is in arrow function. When we delete this, and when we have directly inside here it is. It is okay. When we have use effect and parameter only this, it would be dispatch would be called because left side is one, because status idle is initial value exists. It is one. It is idle. It is one. It is true. And right side is ready to call, and it would be called. Because of that, we use arrow function, because arrow function mask body of arrow function. It must go in body of arrow that in initial rendering must see arrow function, definition of function, compile definition of function, and only after that can be used, can be called, etc., etc. And But now, one and one, okay, call. Initial rendering would be called this. And because of that, we have arrow function. Edit, undo. Edit, undo. Use effect, dispatch, fetch, post. Okay. I hope. Uh, okay, I think I edit back. But what is problem? Okay, no problem. Fetch working, fetch fetch post. Okay, and because of that we have arrow function. Initial rendering, see arrow function cannot see this in body of arrow function. It means encapsulate, arrow function encapsulate this dispatch fetch post. Encapsulate against anything from outside must be called arrow function. If we want that would be execute this part in body of arrow function, must be called arrow function. And in first initial rendering of component, initial rendering means define. It is define and means compile, define arrow function. Define. And when component was mounted, we have re-rendered. In that moment, re-rendering a call that event call use effect and use effect call arrow function. Call arrow function. Arrow function encapsulate dispatch fetch post. And arrow function would be called use effect call arrow function, and arrow function can execute block status equal idle and dispatch fetch post dispatch, because we have initial state idle, what created reducer redux. We have dispatch fetch post. After, in moment when we have event component was mounted. Component was mounted. Component, there is a lifespan, some event in lifespan, and one of that event is component was mounted. That event can call use effect. Always, every rendering, every rendering call every times when we have event component was mounted, we call use effect. We call use effect. And use effect would be called times, as many times happen event component was mounted. It means every re-rendering call use effect, but we don't need it because of that. We have this array. What that array the members is dependency. About what depend does would be called user effect or not about dependency. Here, depend about status. When status changes, would be called user effect. When dispatch happened, would be called use effect. But this logical status equal idle uh, dictate final dictate does would be dispatch execute. Does would be dispatch execute or not? Because only would be execute if status is idle. But status fetch post is tank function. Tank function send dispatch, tank function dispatch action to reducer. First action is pending type, but that action change status in loading, not in idle. And that dispatch cannot activate again dispatch. It would be closed loop, infinity loop. And also, second dispatch of tank function is fulfilled, is status is succeeded. It means that only on refresh component we can activate use effect, because when we make a refresh, we have initial rendering. After that, component was mounted, call use effect, and we have re-rendered with the and on the screen we see all posts. In every video, last video, I spoke about that initial rendering and how it is connected with our syntax. And I must say that during writing, during recording this video, I from the sudden have idea what happened. And also during walking, I have idea what what happened in this React, and what happened in initial rendering, what happened in why syntax is like that, why is add post form, why so kind of declaration, declaration by the structured assignment, declaration with dispatch equal use dispatch, declaration with onTitleChanged equal arrow function, etc. Again, post list. Why post list? Why this construction? Why arrow function? Why arrow function? Why don't we have directly this without arrow function? And now I know. And of course, I said all in sudden during recording, all in sudden in walking, and of course I discuss it with ChatGPT. And all what I said you in this video and before and in the future, I discussed with Chat GPT, and Chat GPT satisfy with me. Satisfy, for example, that we can call declaration of function. We use it declaration. We declare object variable. But now, and we instantiate. But now we can say that we declare uh, at post form, that we declare variable here and instantiate, because right side is what we write on the right side. It is value of variable, and right side is arrow function is value. Arrow function is a value of onTitleChanged. It means that we declare. I said, can we said declare object onTitleChanged and instantiate. Declare and instantiate. Yes, ChatGPT said, okay, we can set it, but usually we said declare function, said in one moment declare object function, and define that. It means we declare object function. It is excellent expression, excellent terms, object function, because in beginning of programming we have variables. After that coming object, and we call object variable, because was a very wall in our head. Variable is some string, is number, variable equal that, some primitive type of data. And when coming object was all books of coding. And how can object one books of code can be one books of coding? No, of course not. Can be like primitive data, like string, but it is same. And now in here in JavaScript, all is object except primitive data. And we call object variable. We declare object variable. And now here we can call it object function. We declare object function. But reality is that we here declare variable, or we declare object. We don't say object variable, object function. We don't need it. It is declaration of object. And the right side is function. At first, I think, okay, every function has some return, but not every function has some return. When we have return, we have some value finally. And ultimately, onTitleChanged would be some value, would be some object, but not. There is no function don't return, for example, this function, this arrow function, change value, concretely set title here, set value, change value of title. Don't change value on title. It means that on title, nothing return to onTitleChanged, but change value of title. We call onTitleChanged, and that function change value of title. We call onContentChanged, but that changed content value attribute in input box, not return, nothing return to onContentChanged. And in React, all time we have a function like that. Function. What we start here is post list function. Function post not post post list. Here it is dispatch tank function, fetch post. Nothing return. It is use effect call arrow function call dispatch function. Arrow function call dispatch function call fetch post function. Who to whom return something. No one to no one return nothing. Return nothing. Use effect call arrow function. Use effect is function. Call arrow function. Arrow function call dispatch function. Dispatch function call fetch post. And fetch post go asynchron, go to remote server, get fetch post, go back, dispatch pending type of action to reducer, redux, nothing back to reducer. And then second action is fulfilled, type status succeed, type fulfilled. It is all one directional. It is one unidirectional flow data. Unidirectional flow data. Use effect call arrow function call dispatch function, this dispatch method of store. Dispatch function call fetch post. Fetch post, it is fetch post function, it is tank. And now, okay, let's see what happened after that in post slice. Post slice, fetch post function, fetch post function, activate create asynchron tank function. It is function. It is function. Fetch post function is create asynchron tank function. It is not call, but it is equal. And create asynchron tank function. Call asynchron. One of parameter is again function. This is string. It is one parameter, but other is asynchron function. And create asynchron tank, call, activate asynchron arrow function. In body of that arrow function, we have await Axios get function would be activate Axios get function. And after that, we have returned response data. How many actions? But if you stay a long time, enough long time, you will understand all this. And you like it, very like it, because React library give us a lot of time for walking and thinking, and very we need a little time for coding. What we want more behind of it. Okay, for this video it would be enough, but React library inspire me more and more. Declarative programming, functional programming, uh, declarative, functional, immutable, immutable, immutable mutation way, immutable way changes, and etc. etc. Very, very interesting and very good for work with it. If you know somebody that this video can help, share them in your social network, in your coffee discussion. If you need, subscribe. If you like it. All that is information for me and information for all other who come to see this video. And of course, all that information to all of us mean love. Of course, comment in below of video or your explanation, something about what I here explain, would be very, very interesting for all. Sharing means growing. Also, this small community around this video by sharing, would be growing. Thank you for watching this video.